Chosen one, what I'm about to reveal to you will completely transform how you understand the long season of loneliness you've been enduring, the isolation you've been experiencing, the solitude that has felt like punishment but was actually preparation. Right now, in this very moment, while you've been questioning why you've been so alone, why connection has been so difficult, why relationships have felt so distant, why you've spent so much time by yourself when all you wanted was companionship. Something profound has been happening in the depths of your being. You weren't being abandoned. You were being activated. You weren't being forgotten. You were being developed. You weren't being punished with solitude. You were being prepared through sacred isolation that was developing spiritual gifts in you that could only awaken in the silence, that could only emerge in the solitude, that could only activate in the aloneness. This loneliness you've experienced wasn't random. This isolation wasn't meaningless. This solitude wasn't purposeless. It was a chrysalis, a cocoon, a sacred container where transformation was happening that required complete separation from external influence, total removal from human interference, absolute isolation from voices that would have drowned out the subtle awakening occurring in your spiritual depths. And now, after this long loneliness, after this extended isolation, after this season of solitude, spiritual gifts are awakening in you that would have remained dormant if you had stayed surrounded, that would have stayed inactive if you had remained constantly connected, that would have never emerged if you hadn't been alone long enough for them to develop, to strengthen, to activate fully. Tonight, you're going to understand the 7 specific spiritual gifts that awaken after a long loneliness. You're going to recognize abilities that have been developing in you during your isolation, capacities that have been strengthening during your solitude, powers that have been activating during your aloneness. You're going to see that every day you spent alone was developing something in you. Every hour you felt lonely was activating something within you. Every moment you wished for connection was actually preparing you for a level of spiritual power that requires isolation to develop, that demands solitude to emerge, that necessitates loneliness to awaken. The chosen often go through extended periods of loneliness before their gifts fully activate. This isn't coincidence, this isn't cruel fate, this is divine design. Spiritual gifts of significant power require development in isolation because they're too vulnerable in early stages to withstand the influence, the opinions, the energy of others. They need protected space to gestate, sacred silence to develop, absolute solitude to strengthen before they're ready to be used in the world, before they're prepared to serve others, before they're equipped to fulfill their purpose. Your loneliness has been your training ground. Your isolation has been your development center. Your solitude has been your activation chamber. And what's been awakening in you during this time? What's been developing in you through this process? What's been emerging in you from this experience? These gifts are about to change everything. They're going to transform how you perceive reality, how you navigate life, how you fulfill your purpose, how you serve your mission, how you impact your world. The loneliness is ending, but what it developed in you is just beginning to manifest. Gift 1. Profound discernment that perceives truth beyond words. The first spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is profound discernment. The ability to perceive truth beyond words, to sense authenticity beyond performance, to recognize reality beneath surface presentation. When you've been alone long enough, when you've spent sufficient time in solitude without the constant noise of other voices, when you've had extended periods away from the deception and performance that characterizes so much human interaction, you develop an ability to perceive truth with stunning accuracy, with undeniable clarity, with immediate recognition. This discernment operates instantly. You meet someone and you know within moments whether they're genuine or performing, authentic or fake, truthful or deceptive. You don't need time to figure them out. You don't require extensive interaction to discern their nature. You perceive it immediately, automatically, undeniably. This isn't judgment. This isn't being critical. This is accurate perception of what is, clear seeing of reality, truth recognition that bypasses all the ways humans disguise, distort, deceive. In the loneliness, in the silence, in the absence of constant human interaction, your spiritual senses sharpened. Like physical senses that become more acute in darkness or silence, your spiritual perception became more refined in the absence of social noise, more sensitive in the stillness of solitude, more accurate in the quiet of aloneness. You learn to hear what people don't say, to see what they don't show, to perceive what they try to hide. You developed ability to sense the energy beneath the words, to feel the truth beyond the presentation, to know the reality behind the performance. This gift of discernment is invaluable because it protects you. It prevents you from being deceived by charming people with dark intentions. It stops you from being manipulated by skilled performers who know how to appear trustworthy. It guards you from toxic individuals who present as supportive. You can see through facades that fool others. You can detect deception that bypasses most people. You can sense manipulation that appears as genuine care to those without your developed discernment. But this gift does more than protect. It guides. It helps you recognize your people when they appear. It allows you to identify genuine connections in a world full of superficial relationships. It enables you to distinguish between those who are aligned with your purpose and those who would hinder it, between those who support your calling and those who would sabotage it, between those who celebrate your light and those who resent it. Your discernment doesn't just show you who to avoid. It reveals who to embrace, who to trust, who to allow into your inner circle. This discernment also extends to situations, opportunities, decisions. You can sense when something is right or wrong for you, when an opportunity is aligned or misaligned with your path, when a decision will lead you toward your destiny or away from it. You have gut feelings that are remarkably accurate, intuitions that prove correct, inner knowing that guides you flawlessly. This isn't random intuition, this is the discernment gift that developed in your loneliness, that sharpened in your solitude, that activated in your isolation. The loneliness gave you something precious, uncontaminated perception. When you're constantly surrounded by others, your perception gets influenced by their opinions, clouded by their energy, distorted by their perspectives. But in the loneliness, you developed perception that's purely yours. Discernment that's uninfluenced by others, clarity that comes from direct spiritual perception rather than filtered through human interpretation. This gift will serve you powerfully as you move forward, as you rebuild connections, as you create community. You'll build relationships with people you can trust because your discernment accurately identifies them. You'll pursue opportunities that actually serve you because your discernment correctly perceives them. You'll make decisions that align with your highest path because your discernment reliably guides you. Gift 2. Deep capacity for solitude without loneliness. The second spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is the capacity for solitude without loneliness, the ability to be alone without feeling lonely, the power to find fullness in your own company rather than emptiness in the absence of others. This might seem like a small gift, but it's actually profound. Most people are terrified of being alone. They avoid solitude at all costs. They fill every moment with noise, activity, connection because they can't stand to be with themselves, can't handle silence, can't tolerate aloneness. But you've been forced into solitude. You've had no choice but to be alone. You've had to learn to survive in isolation, to function in loneliness, to exist in aloneness. And through that forced solitude, through that extended loneliness, through that prolonged isolation, you developed something powerful. You learned to be with yourself. You discovered that you're good company. You found that you don't need constant external stimulation to feel alive, don't require perpetual connection to feel whole, don't depend on others' presence to feel complete. This capacity for solitude is a spiritual gift because it makes you uncontrollable. People can't manipulate you through threat of abandonment because you're okay alone. They can't control you through fear of isolation because solitude doesn't terrify you. They can't influence you through your need for connection because you're complete in yourself. This independence, this self-sufficiency, this wholeness in aloneness, it's power. Real power. Because it means you make decisions from choice rather than need, from desire rather than desperation, from preference rather than fear. You can now be in relationships because you want to be, not because you need to be. You can choose connection because it enhances your life, not because it completes you. You can enjoy companionship because it's pleasant, not because it's necessary for your survival, your happiness, your sense of worth. This transforms the quality of relationships you create going forward. You're not bringing neediness, desperation, codependence. You're bringing wholeness, choice, authentic desire for connection that's not contaminated by need. This capacity for solitude also gives you access to deeper levels of spiritual connection, creative expression, inner wisdom. In solitude, you can hear your own thoughts without interference. You can access your own wisdom without others' opinions clouding it. You can connect with divine source without human voices drowning it out. You can create without external input contaminating your pure expression. You can think without others' judgments limiting your exploration. You can be without others' expectations shaping you. Many people never develop this capacity. They go through life terrified of being alone, running from solitude, avoiding silence. They never develop the deep inner life that only solitude can cultivate. They never access the profound creativity that only silence can unlock. They never discover the wisdom that only emerges in aloneness. But you have. Through your long loneliness, through your forced isolation, through your extended solitude, you developed capacity for aloneness that most people never achieve. Ability to be with yourself that's actually rare. Comfort in solitude that's genuinely precious. This doesn't mean you'll be alone forever. It doesn't mean you won't have relationships, won't build community, won't experience connection. It means that when you do connect, when you do build relationships, when you do create community, you'll do it from a place of wholeness rather than need, from a position of strength rather than desperation, from a foundation of completeness rather than lack. And that makes all the difference. That creates healthy relationships rather than codependent ones, genuine connections rather than needy attachments, authentic community rather than desperate associations. Gift 3. Heightened intuition and inner guidance. The third spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is heightened intuition, the ability to hear inner guidance with clarity, to receive divine direction with certainty, to access wisdom that comes from within rather than from external sources. In the loneliness, in the absence of constant human input, in the silence where others' voices don't drown out your inner voice, you developed ability to hear yourself, to trust yourself, to follow your own guidance with confidence. When you're constantly surrounded by people, constantly exposed to their opinions, constantly influenced by their perspectives, it's difficult to hear your own inner voice. Their voices are louder. Their opinions feel more certain. Their guidance seems more reliable. So you learn to look outside yourself for direction, to seek others' input for decisions, to depend on external guidance for clarity. But this externalization of authority disconnects you from your own inner wisdom, from your own divine guidance, from your own spiritual knowing. The loneliness forced you back to yourself. In the absence of others to consult, you had to listen to yourself. In the silence where no one else was speaking, you had to hear your own voice. In the solitude where no external guidance was available, you had to trust your own knowing. And through this forced self-reliance, through this necessary inner orientation, through this required trust in your own guidance, You developed something powerful. Direct access to inner wisdom that's remarkably accurate, reliable, trustworthy. You now receive downloads of information that you can't explain, but you know are true. You have sudden insights that solve problems you've been struggling with. You get clear direction about decisions you need to make. You sense which path to take at crossroads. You know when to move and when to wait. You perceive opportunities that are right for you and recognize those that aren't. This isn't random intuition. This is the gift of heightened inner guidance that developed in your loneliness, that strengthened in your solitude, that activated in your aloneness. This gift manifests in multiple ways. You might receive guidance through feelings, through gut sensations that tell you yes or no, through physical responses in your body that indicate alignment or misalignment. You might receive guidance through thoughts, through sudden knowing that appears in your mind, through understanding that downloads without conscious reasoning. You might receive guidance through dreams, through visions, through symbols that carry meaning beyond their surface appearance. However your guidance comes, you've learned to trust it. In the loneliness, you didn't have choice but to trust your inner knowing because no one else was there to confirm it, to validate it, to support it. You had to move on your own guidance even when it didn't make logical sense, even when others would have questioned it, even when external evidence seemed to contradict it. And through following your guidance despite uncertainty, despite lack of confirmation, despite absence of support, you proved to yourself that your inner wisdom is reliable, that your intuition is accurate, that your guidance is trustworthy. This gift of heightened intuition will serve you powerfully as you move forward into your purpose, into your calling, into your destiny. The path ahead will require you to make decisions that others won't understand, to take actions that won't make logical sense, to follow direction that appears foolish to conventional thinking. But you'll be able to move confidently because you trust your inner guidance, because you know how to hear divine direction, because you've developed ability to follow wisdom that comes from within rather than depending on guidance that comes from without. Gift 4. Authentic self-knowledge and self-acceptance. The fourth spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is authentic self-knowledge, deep understanding of who you truly are beneath the masks, the roles, the performances, the versions of yourself you created to fit in, to be accepted, to meet others' expectations. In the loneliness, when no one was watching, when no one was judging, when no one was expecting anything, you encountered yourself without the filters, without the performances, without the masks. And through that raw encounter with your unfiltered self, you developed genuine self-knowledge that most people never achieve. When you're constantly with others, you're constantly performing, not necessarily in dishonest ways, but in social ways. You present versions of yourself that fit the situation, that match others' expectations, that create harmony, that avoid conflict, that maintain relationships. These presentations aren't lies exactly, but they're not complete truth either. They're partial selves, selected aspects, edited versions. And when you're always presenting edited versions, you lose touch with the complete truth of who you are, with the unfiltered reality of your being, with the authentic self beneath the performances. But in the loneliness, the performances dropped. There was no audience, so there was no need to perform. There was no one to impress, so pretense fell away. There was no one to please, so you could just be. And in that unperformed being, in that unpretended existence, in that authentic aloneness, you met yourself. Really met yourself. Not the version you present to the world, not the self you wish you were, not the person you think you should be, but the actual you, complete, unfiltered, real. This meeting with your authentic self revealed things you didn't know about yourself. You discovered desires you had been suppressing to please others. You recognized dreams you had abandoned to fit in. You found aspects of your personality you had hidden because they weren't acceptable. You uncovered parts of yourself you had rejected because others rejected them. The loneliness gave you space to explore all of yourself without judgment, without criticism, without rejection. And through that exploration, you developed complete self-knowledge, full self-awareness, total self-understanding. But the gift isn't just self-knowledge, it's self-acceptance. In the loneliness, you not only discovered who you really are, you learned to accept who you really are. You made peace with your imperfections, you embraced your quirks, you honored your uniqueness. You stopped trying to be someone you're not. You quit attempting to fit into molds that were never designed for you. You released the shame you carried about aspects of yourself that didn't match others' expectations. You found that you're actually okay exactly as you are, that you don't need to change to be acceptable, that you're worthy just as you are. This self-acceptance is radical. Most people spend their entire lives trying to be different than they are, trying to fix themselves, trying to become acceptable. They carry shame about who they are, guilt about what they're not, constant striving to be better, different, more. But you've found peace with yourself. You've accepted yourself completely. You're no longer at war with your own being. This peace, this acceptance, this reconciliation with yourself, it's transformative. It creates foundation of solid identity that can't be shaken by others' opinions, can't be disturbed by external criticism, can't be undermined by rejection or judgment. This gift of self-knowledge and self-acceptance will serve you as you re-enter community, as you build relationships, as you create connections. You're not bringing a false self, a performed self, an edited self. You're bringing your authentic self. You're showing up as who you actually are rather than as who you think others want you to be. This authenticity creates different quality of relationships, deeper connections. Genuine community where you're known and loved for who you actually are rather than accepted for who you're pretending to be. Gift 5. Powerful creative expression and original thought. The fifth spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is powerful creative expression, the ability to create from your authentic voice, to express your unique perspective, to manifest original work that comes from deep within you rather than from mimicking others, following trends, conforming to expectations. In the loneliness, in the absence of external influences constantly shaping your expression, in the silence where you couldn't hear what everyone else was creating, you found your own voice, developed your own style, discovered your own unique way of expressing what lives in you. When you're constantly exposed to others' creative work, constantly seeing what they're creating, constantly influenced by their styles, their approaches, their expressions, it's difficult to find your own voice. You unconsciously mimic what you see. You follow trends without realizing it. You create what's acceptable, what's popular, what you know will be received rather than what's authentically yours. External voices become so loud that your own voice gets lost, gets drowned out, gets suppressed beneath the weight of what everyone else is doing, saying, creating. But in the loneliness, external voices faded. In the isolation, you couldn't see what everyone else was creating. In the solitude, you had no choice but to access what was inside you rather than copying what was outside you. And through that forced inner orientation, through that necessary self-sourcing, through that required authenticity, you discovered creative expression that's genuinely yours, completely unique, absolutely original. You found that you have things to say that no one else is saying. You discovered perspectives that are distinctly yours. You accessed ways of seeing that are unique to you. You developed forms of expression that are authentically yours. Whether you create through art, through writing, through music, through speaking, through building, through any form of expression, what comes through you now is original, powerful, authentic because it's sourced from deep within you, rather than copied from external examples. This creative power isn't just about making art, though it includes that. It's about original thinking, unique problem-solving, innovative approaches to challenges. You don't think like everyone else. You don't see solutions that are obvious to others. You perceive possibilities that others miss. You approach problems from angles others don't consider. Your mind works differently because it's not constrained by groupthink, not limited by conventional wisdom, not restricted by what everyone else believes is possible. The loneliness freed your mind from consensus reality, from collective thinking, from mass consciousness. In the absence of constant social conditioning, in the silence where cultural programming couldn't reach you, in the solitude where you weren't exposed to constant messaging about what's possible, what's acceptable, what's realistic, your mind expanded. You started thinking thoughts that are yours alone, seeing possibilities that others don't see, imagining futures that others can't imagine. This gift of creative expression and original thought will serve you powerfully as you step into your purpose, your calling, your mission. The work you're meant to do requires originality, demands innovation, needs your unique perspective. You're not here to repeat what others have done. You're here to create something new, to bring something original, to manifest something that can only come through you because it's sourced from your unique essence, your distinctive perspective, your individual expression of divine creativity. The world doesn't need more copies, it needs originals, it needs authentic voices, it needs unique perspectives, it needs people who aren't afraid to express what's genuinely theirs rather than what's safely acceptable. Your loneliness developed you into one of those people. You're not creating to fit in anymore. You're creating to express truth, to manifest beauty, to bring forth what's within you regardless of whether it matches what others are doing, whether it follows trends, whether it meets expectations. Gift 6. Deep empathy paired with strong boundaries. The sixth spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is deep empathy paired with strong boundaries, the ability to feel deeply with others while maintaining your own energetic integrity, to connect profoundly without losing yourself, to care genuinely without sacrificing your own well-being. This pairing is crucial because empathy without boundaries destroys you, and boundaries without empathy isolate you. But empathy with boundaries creates powerful capacity for genuine connection that doesn't deplete you, authentic compassion that doesn't drain you, real understanding that doesn't diminish you. In the loneliness, you developed both. You developed empathy because suffering deepens compassion. When you've experienced pain, when you've endured difficulty, when you've survived hardship, you understand others' struggles in ways those who haven't suffered cannot. Your loneliness gave you direct experience of isolation, abandonment, the ache of disconnection. This experience created empathy, compassion, understanding for others who are suffering, who are struggling, who are alone. But you also developed boundaries because loneliness teaches you to value your own energy, to protect your own space, to honor your own needs. When you've had to be everything to yourself, when you've had to sustain yourself without external support, when you've had to preserve your own well-being without anyone else helping you, you learn that your energy is precious, that your space is sacred, that your boundaries are necessary for survival. This combination, empathy with boundaries, is rare. Most empathic people have weak boundaries. They feel others' pain so deeply that they absorb it, take it on, carry it. They sacrifice themselves trying to help, to heal, to save. They give until they're depleted, extend until they're exhausted, care until they're broken. Their empathy destroys them because it's not balanced with boundaries. But your loneliness taught you different. It taught you to feel deeply while maintaining your integrity, to care profoundly while protecting your energy, to help genuinely while honoring your limits. You can now sit with someone in their pain without taking on their pain. You can feel compassion for their struggle without absorbing their struggle. You can offer support without depleting yourself. You can be present without losing yourself. You can care deeply without sacrificing your well-being. This is powerful, this is mature empathy, this is compassion that can actually help because it's sustainable, because it doesn't destroy you, because it comes from fullness rather than emptiness. Your boundaries aren't walls. They're not about shutting people out or refusing connection. They're about maintaining your energetic integrity while engaging authentically. They're about knowing where you end and others begin. They're about understanding that you can care without carrying, support without enabling, love without losing yourself. These boundaries actually make your empathy more powerful because they allow you to help from a place of strength rather than weakness, from a position of fullness rather than depletion, from a foundation of self-preservation that makes sustainable service possible. This gift of empathy with boundaries will serve you as you move into serving others, supporting your community, fulfilling your purpose. Your calling likely involves helping people, guiding people, supporting people. But you can't do that effectively if your empathy has no boundaries, if your compassion depletes you, if your service destroys you. The loneliness taught you to maintain yourself while giving to others, to preserve yourself while serving others, to honor yourself while helping others. This balance is essential for sustainable service, lasting impact, enduring ministry. Gift 7. Unshakable faith in divine timing and purpose. The seventh spiritual gift that awakens after a long loneliness is unshakable faith in divine timing, absolute trust in divine purpose, complete confidence that everything is unfolding as it should even when you can't see the plan, even when you don't understand the timing, even when circumstances seem contrary to what you were promised. In the loneliness, when nothing was happening externally, when no visible progress was occurring, when every day felt the same, when hope seemed foolish, you had to develop faith that wasn't based on circumstances, trust that didn't depend on evidence, belief that existed despite apparent contradiction. This faith is different from wishful thinking. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it's not, denying difficulty when it exists, or claiming prosperity when you're struggling. This faith is deeper. It's knowing that beneath surface circumstances, divine purpose is unfolding. It's trusting that beyond visible events, divine timing is operating. It's believing that underneath apparent chaos, divine order is maintaining. In the loneliness, you had to develop this faith because nothing visible supported it. Days passed with no change. Months went by with no progress. Years accumulated with no movement. If you were depending on circumstances to maintain your faith, you would have lost it. But you learned to maintain faith despite circumstances, to hold trust beyond evidence, to keep believing when nothing visible confirmed your belief. This developed faith that's unshakable because it's not based on external validation, not dependent on visible confirmation, not contingent on circumstances aligning. You learned that God's delays are not God's denials. You discovered that divine timing is different from human timing. You understood that what looks like nothing happening is often when the most important things are happening beneath the surface, in invisible realms, in spiritual dimensions where preparation is occurring that will manifest physically when timing is perfect. The loneliness taught you patience, taught you trust, taught you faith that exists independent of circumstances. This unshakable faith also extends to your purpose. In the loneliness, when you weren't fulfilling obvious purpose, when you weren't making visible impact, when you seemed to be wasting time rather than accomplishing mission, you had to trust that the loneliness itself had purpose, that the isolation was meaningful, that the solitude was part of your preparation. You had to believe that nothing was wasted, that everything mattered, that every moment of loneliness was developing something that your purpose would require. And now, on the other side of that long loneliness, you can see that it was true. The loneliness did have purpose. The isolation was meaningful. The solitude was preparation. Nothing was wasted. Every moment mattered. And this realization, this confirmation that divine timing was operating even when you couldn't see it, this strengthens your faith for what's ahead. Because you know now from direct experience that God is faithful, that divine timing is perfect, that nothing is wasted in your journey. This gift of unshakable faith will carry you through everything ahead. Your purpose will have challenges. Your calling will face obstacles. Your mission will encounter resistance. But you'll navigate all of it with faith that doesn't waver because it's been tested in the loneliness, proven in the isolation, established in the solitude. You know how to trust when nothing visible supports trust. You know how to believe when circumstances contradict belief. You know how to maintain faith when everything appears contrary to faith. This faith makes you dangerous to darkness. You can't be discouraged by delays because you trust divine timing. You can't be stopped by obstacles because you believe in divine purpose. You can't be defeated by resistance because you know that nothing can prevent what God has ordained. Your faith is foundation that can't be shaken, rock that can't be moved, certainty that can't be disturbed. The loneliness built this in you, and it will sustain you through everything ahead. Conclusion: receiving your gifts with gratitude. Chosen one. The loneliness you endured was not punishment. It was preparation. The isolation you experienced was not abandonment. It was activation. The solitude that felt so painful was actually producing gifts in you that will serve you powerfully for the rest of your life. That will enable you to fulfill your purpose with power you wouldn't have without them. That will allow you to impact your world with effectiveness that required their development. You awakened profound discernment that perceives truth beyond words. You developed deep capacity for solitude without loneliness. You activated heightened intuition and inner guidance. You discovered authentic self-knowledge and self-acceptance. You unlocked powerful creative expression and original thought. You cultivated deep empathy paired with strong boundaries. You established unshakable faith in divine timing and purpose. These 7 gifts are treasures born from your trial, abilities forged in your difficulty, powers developed through your pain. They didn't come easily. They required long loneliness to develop, extended isolation to activate, prolonged solitude to strengthen. But now they're yours, permanently, powerfully, ready to serve you as you move forward into your purpose, into your calling, into your destiny. The loneliness is ending, connections are coming, community is forming, relationships are manifesting. But you're not the same person who entered that long loneliness. You've been transformed by it, developed through it, gifted by it. You're emerging with spiritual powers that most people never develop, abilities that require the exact preparation you received, gifts that could only awaken in the conditions you endured. Receive these gifts with gratitude, not gratitude for the pain necessarily, but gratitude for what the pain produced. Not thankfulness for the loneliness itself, but thankfulness for what the loneliness developed. Honor what was built in you. Respect what was activated in you. Value what was awakened in you. These gifts are precious, they're powerful, they're purposeful. And now, as you move forward, as you rebuild connections, as you create community, these gifts will serve you, guide you, protect you, empower you. Your discernment will help you build relationships with the right people. Your capacity for solitude will prevent codependence. Your intuition will guide your decisions. Your self-knowledge will allow authentic connection. Your creativity will fulfill your calling. Your empathy with boundaries will enable sustainable service. Your faith will carry you through all challenges. The long loneliness was your training. These 7 gifts are your equipment. The purpose ahead is your assignment. Everything you needed was developed in the loneliness. Everything you'll use was activated in the isolation. Everything that will serve you was awakened in the solitude. You're ready. You're equipped. You're prepared. The loneliness did its work. The gifts have awakened. Now it's time to use them, to serve with them, to fulfill purpose with them, to impact your world with them. 7 spiritual gifts awakened after your long loneliness. Receive them, honor them, use them. They were worth the wait. They were worth the pain. They were worth the loneliness. and they will serve you powerfully as you step into everything that's ahead, everything that's waiting, everything that's prepared for you. Your loneliness was not wasted. Your isolation was not meaningless. Your solitude was not purposeless. It was all preparation. And now you're prepared, completely, powerfully, perfectly. The gifts have awakened. Use them well.